The Houston Gamblers blow another late lead. The Birmingham Stallions and the New Jersey Generals are punched into the playoffs, and it appears the New Orleans Breakers and the Philadelphia Stars will be the two remaining teams. All that and more as we break down USFL Week 8. And USFL Week 8 action kicks off Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern, as we have the 1-6 Pittsburgh Maulers taking on the 6-1 New Jersey Generals. Generals are laying 9 points in this game, as we have the over-under of 42 points. Now, as always, if you got 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. Lets me know you're enjoying these videos, and I keep making this content. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different, guys. This season's basically over. We know Birmingham and New Jersey team are both going to be inserted into the playoffs, and looking at the schedules and the standings, it appears to me that the New Orleans Breakers and the Philadelphia Stars can both lose their game this week and be in the playoffs. So your playoff seeding will be from divisions: the New Jersey Generals taking on the Philadelphia Stars in the first round, and the Birmingham Stallions taking on the New Orleans Breakers in the first round. But let's get back to this game. Our kickoff Friday, 8 o'clock, we got the Maulers. They really couldn't do anything last week. The passing game was bad. Vlad Lee couldn't do much. They brought in Rolando Rivers. He couldn't do much either. They combined only had 83 passing yards on the day. No real standout wide receiver production with that quarterback play. Mondre London led the team 99 yards. He got into the end zone. The defense is still bad. I mean, averaging giving up 23 points per game. However, they have had now back-to-back games with 3 sacks. Maybe that's something they can try to build on and end the season on a high note here against the Generals. As far as the Generals are concerned, no DeAndre Johnson, no problem. Louis Perez led this team to another victory, 19 of 25, 175 yards. He connected with Cavante Turpin for a touchdown. I just don't know the approach the Generals are going to have in this game. They're already in the playoffs. Are they going to try to rest guys? We know DeAndre Johnson's hurt. He's obviously not going to play. Will he be back for the playoffs? A lot of questions here. Another thing we want to bring up is these playoffs will begin Saturday, June 25th. So even after this game's played, these teams will have nearly 3 weeks off to recover. Once again, let's try to get the practice injury report, see who's playing, see who's getting sat. We don't want to lay 9 points in the Spring Football League, and the over-under of 42.5. Pittsburgh's been an under team, man. I mean, they can't score points. They can't put up points. I'm not going to have any action on this game. If you do want action on it, my pick in this game would be the under 42 points. Once again, all my plays are posted on Twitter. My Twitter handle is in the description and the ticker below. Also is the weekly record from week to week. Let's move on to the next game. Now, the most interesting game this week will be the New Orleans Breakers taking on the Birmingham Stallions. The Stallions are laying 3 points in this game with the over-under of 44. Now, the reason why this game is so interesting is because these are two teams that are first and second in their division. Regardless of the outcome of this game, they will still be first and second in their division. They're going to be playing in the first round of the playoffs against each other. As far as New Orleans, I don't think they should start Kyle Slaughter, their starting quarterback. He's been injured, the second half of the season. Let's get this guy healthy, sit him. It doesn't matter if they win or lose this game. They're not going to jump up anywhere in the seeding. They're going to have their playoff spot. As far as the Birmingham Stallions, they are 7-0. They are chasing this undefeated season. It's the first inaugural USFL season. They could really put a stamp on this thing if they head into the playoffs undefeated, win their next 2 games. They are the favorites to win it all. I believe Birmingham will come out here with a little more urgency than a New Orleans Breakers team, and I think the Breakers should take their time in this game. Sit Slaughter, let's get healthy. With a healthy Kyle Slaughter at the helm and the weapons on the outside, I believe New Orleans can go punch for punch with a New Jersey Generals, with Birmingham. And they can, maybe go ahead and make a run for this thing. Slaughter last week, 15 of 24, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. They actually took him out certain series and brought in Zach Smith in relief because Slaughter was so injured. Their running backs, they're okay still. The loss of T.J. Jones earlier in the year really hurts this team. They're still relying on Jordan Ellis and Anthony Jones. They combined for 76 yards on 18 attempts. Johnny Dixon led the team in receiving. New Orleans defense has to get more pressure. They've only had 3 sacks now in their last 5 games. That's not going to get it done, and certainly not in the playoffs. As far as Birmingham, like we talked about, they're chasing this undefeated record. Bo Scarborough, running back, now 2 back-to-back 100-yard games, and the defense remains one of the best in the league, giving up only 14 points per game. A pick here would be Birmingham, just because I believe New Orleans should sit Kyle Slaughter, and this team is not going to go anywhere without Slaughter. So your pick here would be Birmingham, lay the 3. They're chasing the undefeated record. Let's move on to the next game. Next game brings us to Sunday action, as we have the Michigan Panthers taking on the Philadelphia Stars. Stars are laying 5.5 points in this game, with the highest total of the week at 47.5. Now, similar to New Orleans, like we talked about it, with the Philadelphia Stars, they're already slotted into that playoff spot. I don't see how they can't be. They're taking on the 1-6 Panthers. They're 4-3. Worst case scenario, the Philadelphia Stars end the season 4-4, and they would then take on the New Jersey Generals. Now, once again, kind of a meaningless game, a little bit different of a show this week. Like I said earlier, guys, we're kind of looking at the playoffs at this point, right? Seating set up. As far as a pick for this game, I would just take the over. The Stars have been a over team. Josh Love came in for Michigan last week. I mean, he wasn't really particularly all that well. He threw the ball 37 times, only completed 18 passes. The rushing game was good. Reggie Corbin, 108 yards on 13 totes. Cam Scarlett and Stevie Scott both got into the end zone on touchdowns. Lance Lenore, of course, led the team in receiving, as he does every week. And Cole Murphy, I mean, this guy, what a great kicker. Michigan had the worst kicker. They picked this guy up. He looks good. 4 of 5 field goals, including a 60-yarder that went right down the middle. And their defense is bad. I mean, the last 4 games, they're giving up 30 points per game. We know the Philadelphia Stars are a over team. They've hit in the over in most of the games this year. 47.5. It should be the highest total of the week, and I believe it goes over the 47.5. Next game. Now, before we get to our nightcap for USFL Week 8, just to remind you guys, we are going to have our win totals for the NFL season and our fantasy rankings out on the channel. Please subscribe if you have not yet so you don't miss those videos and that content. Once again, apologize, a little dicey episode this week. There's just not much to go off of with basically the season wrapping up and this being the final week. Similar to a week NFL 18 where you just don't know who's going to be playing. But your nightcap for USFL Week 8, Sunday, 4 o'clock, we have the 1-6 Houston Gamblers taking on the 3-4 Tampa Bay Bandits. Now, here we at least have something we can go off of. Neither one of these two teams are going to make the playoffs. They're both just fighting to end the season on a good note. Tampa Bay laying 5 points in this game with a over-under of 44.5. We'll start with the Bandits here, 3-4. Jordan Tiamu, he had a tough game against New Jersey. New Jersey does that to a lot of quarterbacks, though. He threw the ball 37 times. He only completed 17 of them, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I mean, if he has that type of performance here against Houston, they're probably not going to cover this number. The running game was bad once again. B.J. Emmons and Juan Washington combined for only 57 yards. That's not very good. Vinny Papali led the team in receiving. And there's just not much to like about this Tampa Bay team. On the flip side, the Houston Gamblers, there's not much to like about this team either. We were on Houston last week to cover against the Philadelphia Stars. They were leading the entire game. They had a 13-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and then they give up 20 points in the fourth quarter and lose. The Houston Gamblers have now led every single game this year but at halftime, and now lost every single game after that, except for one, their only win of the season. Clayton Thorson was okay, 8 of 12, 70 yards, but he got hurt on a strip sack. Backup Kenyon Barr came in. He threw a touchdown right away to close out the half and then didn't do much after that. Finished the game with 100 yards. Mark Thompson, I was really disappointed in Mark Thompson. I thought he'd be able to sustain some sort of rushing game against Philadelphia, who opposed from 2 weeks. I guess they are shoring up that rushing defense, but they've shown a lot of holes, and I thought Mark could exploit that. He only went for 47 yards. He did get into the end zone. Theo Redding led the team in receiving for a second straight week, 4 balls, 58 yards. Isaiah Zuber, the standout number 1 wide receiver for the Gamblers, he only caught 1 ball, 6 yards. Linebacker Donald Payne, I mean, this guy, he's a baller. He might get a call, to visit some NFL training camps this year. 2 interceptions. He returned 1 of them for a pick 6. Really just seems to be everywhere on the field attacking the ball. I hate this game. I want to pick the Gamblers, but they cannot close teams out. So I got a suggestion for you. We take the Gamblers, we take the 5 points. We take the Gamblers money line. After halftime, when they're up, we cash out of that bet because these fucking guys, they will throw a game as they've done all year long. Houston Gamblers, 7 games, they've been up at halftime. Every single game, they're winning. And every single game but one, their only win, they've come back and lose. That's the way I'm going to attack this one. If you don't have your phone readily available or you're just not watching these games and you don't want to be invested in like that, the 44.5 seems about right. Gamblers have gone over this number more recently. However, Tampa Bay hasn't. Probably just sit back. Don't gamble on this one. That's USFL Week 8. I'm sorry I don't have a lot of picks for you guys. Like I said, it's a dicey week. It's just like NFL Week 18. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who's going to start and play. The playoffs will start Saturday, June 25th, about 3 weeks after kickoff from Sunday. Like I said, NFL win totals will be out. We're only taking unders. We'll get to that video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content. Fantasy rankings will be out as well. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, give me a reason to keep doing this. I love y'all. Let's have a great weekend and watch some great football. Thanks.